Welcome to day 7 of my 2025 November South Island adventure trip. I want my channel to provide details for tracks in New Zealand, and upon reviewing my first number of releases I realised that I wasn't really probably providing sufficient amounts of information. So from this point forward I've created a more structured checklist of things that I wanted to share to my subscribers about the tracks that I'm going to review, and I'm going to start today with a more detailed review of the Danesys Pass. On this particular day I also did Hakameria Pass, and I will include that as part 2 of my day 7 adventure. I will add all the details that I cover in this review in the description that you can follow at your leisure. Again, I want to apologise for the state of my bike windscreen. It had bugs all over it. There's nothing I can actually do in retrospect other than learn and make sure that in future releases I will be cleaning my windscreen and making sure that it's better. I also wanted to try and put my camera in a different position because the windscreen I think is a bit of an annoyance, but again I can't do anything in this particular set of footage because it's now already completed. So let's start the review of the Danseys Pass, which I have been wanting to do for a number of years and finally managed to get it done. So let's start with the weather. The weather on this day was perfect. It was a November day and it was actually quite warm for November. The sky was mainly overcast with some blue and the sun shining through from now and again, and there was very little wind or minimal wind on this particular day. The time of day that I did this, I travelled to Naseby bright and early. I set off from Clyde at about 7:30 a.m. in the morning. So how do you get there? The Danseys is basically located out of Naseby, and well, that's the end that I started from. I got there from Clyde, as I said, travelling through State Highway 85, and basically I had to fill up at Ranfurly, so I took a slight detour before going to Naseby. The history of the Danseys is it was originally built and owned as a large sheep run. The brothers Alan McLean and John McLean used this for gold mining traffic, and it was named after William Hayward Danseys, a North Otago run holder. The first road through the pass was built in 1862. The type of track, this is a gravel road up the pass maintained by Otago region on one side of the ride up to the summit, and on the other side Canterbury region. On this day the gravel was excellent through the whole track. Difficulty rating overall, I would classify this as a mainly beginner ride. Obviously more care would need to be taken if there was wet or rain, and when there is snow quite often the track is closed. The track is actually open to all riders all season, so it's only closed when the road conditions are too poor to allow travel. Any areas of challenge? Well, the track does have some steep climbs up over the saddles, but overall, as I said, it's kind of a beginner perfect ride. There isn't anything of any significant challenge. There are no river crossings. Distance and time, this is a 52 kilometre ride, basically 32 miles, running west-east from Naseby, paved to the Livingston Duntroon Road, which is the last part exit of this ride. The track took me 1 hour 40 minutes of riding time, 2 hours overall with a stop to take in photos and take in the scenery. The elevation climbs to 910 metres, which is basically 3,000 feet above sea level. The key scenic callouts of this basically winds through both farmland and tussock-laced mountain ranges. The Kaikanui Mountains are spectacular, making it an absolute must for adventure riding in New Zealand if you're in this particular area. The road goes past the Danesys Pass Hotel at Kaiburn on the western side of the pass of the summit. The summit, as I said, is about 3,000 feet, and at the top of the summit you get awesome views of North Otago coast and the Maramu ranges in the distance. The river runs through this pass is the Marawina, sorry if I pronounced the Maori name poorly, river. It is part of a tributary of the Waitaki River. And the lower parts of this river have created a deep gorge in the section of that road that leads up to the summit. Any place you can camp, well, there is a holiday camp towards the northern end of this ride, but I don't know too much about it, and I wouldn't suggest that it is actually a true camping opportunity, but that's what I noticed as I was riding through. The traffic on this particular day was light, but there were some utes and vehicles on this track. Gates. This was a ride where at least you didn't need to stop and open and close gates behind you. There are 0 gates on this ride. And so that concludes my review of the Danseys. I hope you now enjoy some of the footage.